Mathies Financial Partners was started in April of 2008. The market started crashing and was on fire at the end of 07 and basically burned to the ground until into 2009. And here I am. Here I am. Come see me. I make smart financial choices. Check this out. I started this business in the middle of a fire. And man, it was probably, for me, the greatest experience in building businesses, because when you start off at the worst possible time and you survive that, it's hard to break it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cowboys and Cufflinks. I'm Jeff Mathies, CEO of Mathies Financial Partners. I am joined today by my right-hand man, 𝗀𝗲𝗄𝗎. We are excited for you all to join us today.
Good morning, everyone.
We're going to talk about some interesting things today. I think that the end of the show will be for the people who are like, I want to know more about the money and investing side. The first part of the show, we get a lot of questions where people say, listen, we know you guys understand the finance, but we've worked with people in the past and you end up hiring them and you know nothing about these people. You don't know about their background. You don't know what got them into the business. You don't know how any of that transpired to get them to where they are today. So what we're going to do for you today is we're going to tell you how we got into the business and why we're doing what we are doing to try to help people. So 𝗀𝗲𝗄𝗎, you've been with me for a little while now, and I find that for me, your background is fascinating. Like when you talk to me about some of the experiences that you've had in the past, it's like, man, I almost forget where I'm at sometimes, because they're just, they're captivating stories with some of the things that you have dealt with. So why don't you take some time this morning and tell everybody about your background and who you are outside of finance? And
Absolutely. Yeah. So I grew up a ranch kid. Started out in Northern California. Don't hold that against me, but we were right up on the Oregon border, little town called Neeland, which is up above Eureka. And people talk about having a servant's heart, and I had a servant's heritage. So I really had no choice but to have a servant's heart. I had four uncles that were all, my father and three uncles that were all in World War II. And two of my uncles went on to also serve in Korea. And my Uncle Bill spent 39 months in a Korean prison camp. And he was a POW. He was one of the chosen. And he was a fighter pilot and served at the Pentagon. And that service just passed down to me. And I never went into the military. I took a different path. I went to school with being a doctor. That was my goal. And had to pay my way through school, so I was a paramedic at the time, and I was working in an emergency room. And great gentleman right down here at St. Mary Corwin that was kind of a mentor of mine. He was a doc. He's still out there doing it once in a while. He's older now, but he told me if I could do anything else, I probably should, because healthcare was changing. So I started looking for a different path, and my parents were very good at making money and catastrophically bad at saving it and retiring on it. So their retirement plan was to buy a ranch until it went bankrupt and sell it, and buy a smaller ranch until it went bankrupt, and so on. So when they ended up finishing out their time, they actually lived with me. And my sister had an equally hard time in her retirement. I said, I just have to change this. I can't let this generational curse roll on to me. And so I just started studying it. And in the meantime, I went to work for the Department of Corrections for, 22 years. And started out as an officer, just, basically a babysitter for adult children. And then I went on from there into the educational process and the industries process, where we taught inmates the end goal was to be a functioning member of society. And one of those things was finance and how to start a business, how to invest, those sort of things. And I knew very little at that point about investing. I was just very interested in it, and I was reading everything I could and passing that knowledge on to them. And it just grew from there. And when I retired, I very quickly felt useless to society. I'm just sitting here drawing a pension, doing nothing. You know, I'm fishing, I'm enjoying my grandson, but I felt useless to society. And that servant part of me was unfulfilled at that point in my career or in my life. So ran into Jeff in the silliest circumstance ever. He thought I was having too much fun driving a forklift at my paid gym membership is what I used to call it. I had a job where I worked.
That's amazing.
And yeah, I was having too much fun, and we just started chatting, and he realized that I had my insurance license and I had some background, and we hooked up, and that was the beginning of this journey. And it's been a beautiful, beautiful scene. But I think the thing that sets Jeff and I and the rest of the company apart is we truly care about the people that we work with more than we care about our own money. And that is pertinent in every way to an investor, to the end investor. You need to work with somebody that cares deeply about what you're doing and what you want to do and your hopes and dreams and your goals and your family, and loves you like their family. And that's hard to find. And I think that sets us apart. And that's why I fit in so well, is because I love to serve people. And I'll do this until I mentally or physically cannot. I have no plans for a hard retirement date. This is my life, and this is who I am now.
This doesn't feel like a job. So
No.
It's one of those career choices that it really is hard to retire from because you love doing it so much. This is not one of those daily grind, Wall Street banker kind of scenarios where those guys are like, I wonder if that window's locked.
Look at Mr. Young.
We're 18 stories up. Maybe I'm just kidding.
Look at one of our other advisors, Mr. Young. He's every Monday morning he's there for our team meeting, and on his way to pickleball.
He will not retire.
No,
this guy
he just loves it.
He won't do it. I remember when we go to a lot of the events where we are, having conversations with other colleagues that are like-minded as us. You look around, some of those guys they're in their 70s and 80s.
Oh yeah,
and they refuse to slow down. Like it is a work optional lifestyle.
Yep.
And we're living what we try to teach our clients to live and what we try to coach them into. But there were two things when I met you, Caleb, that I was like, man, this is shockingly impressive. The first one was when we were having a conversation about money and how money actually, realistically works in people's lives, and how money has to have a purpose. It can't just be there. It is a tool, yes, but it can't be the only thing motivating people to move forward in life.
Yep.
Your ability to grasp that and your knowledge already conceptually of how money creates freedom for people when it's handled correctly, but it also can be a dangerous tool for people that don't have, a coach and somebody to walk them through some of these critical steps. Like, your knowledge of that for me was incredible. I don't get impressed. It's hard sometimes for people to impress me a lot because I most of the time I feel like they know who I am. They're just kind of blowing smoke. It's just BS.
And I appreciate that. I don't feel like it's impressive. I didn't have any choice but to learn it. If I was going to break that cycle that my family was in of making a lot of money, spending a lot of money, and not knowing how to live out the rest of your life, for my daughter and my grandson, I had no choice. It wasn't like I went out for fun and learned something hard. I didn't have a choice.
The second thing too, the first thing was your knowledge about money and how it actually impacted people, not only positively but negatively. The second thing was your ability to connect with people. Like, I thought, there's two things you absolutely have to be able to do if you're going to be a successful investor coach. And there's two things. The first one, obviously, is understand money and investing and how it works and know that there's science behind it. But the second thing is just your ability to communicate. And I don't know that I've seen another person where people will come into the office as total strangers and leave wanting to go hunting with you. They want to come over and they want inviting you over for dinner. And it's like your ability to connect with people it's amazing.
Well, that was beat into me.
Well,
literally, because
I'm glad.
I actually
your pain is a good thing for people.
I went to a school where 3% of the kids there look like me.
Wow.
And so if you don't learn to deal with people as people and you look at nothing physical, then you're not going to survive that situation. So yeah, it was a rough way to grow up, but it taught me that people are people and nothing else about their physical appearance or their beliefs matter. And that was a gift, probably received through fists, because I do run my mouth occasionally, and I had to be straightened out by some of the older kids quite a few times, but yeah, you learn to communicate and you learn to love people for who they are. That's just how it is. Well,
that's good for you. So I hope that helps everybody understand a little bit about Caleb and his background, and yeah. So like I said, I always find it when you start talking about some of the experiences you've had, which we obviously don't have time to get into all those today, but we'll do it in another setting. Man, it's just impressive. So thanks for sharing that with us. So I guess it's my turn.
Yeah.
So I do get people always ask me, man, you live in Colorado. You seem to have this lifestyle requirement for yourself that's not always like other people.
Right.
And they start asking questions. And I think it's a good time now to share some of those questions and just tell you a little bit about me and where I came from. So maybe that'll help people get an idea of why I'm wired the way I'm wired. So I was born in Colorado in a very small town called Walsh, which it's unlikely anybody has heard of this place. I think there's maybe 200 people there.
I don't know. Anybody that's played 8-man football in the Eastern Plains knows Walsh, because those are some tough old farm boys.
Oh, man. It was very, very small town. But my family, we moved to Texas when I was probably right at 3 years old. So I was very young. So I grew up a Texas boy. My mother was a nurse. It just worked out. Like my parents, the time we moved, my mom had just got her nursing degree. My dad was working for John Deere, but it was one of those cycles where the farming industry was tough. Yeah. The commodities market was tanking, so there just wasn't a lot of people buying new stuff, and there wasn't a lot of people getting their old stuff fixed. Like they were Band-Aid fixing things. So we had to make a life location change when I was 3 years old, and we moved to Texas. My mom got a job at a hospital there. And that was a grind for her. And my dad, he kept mechanicking for John Deere. And my dad worked for John Deere for 40 years. Yep. Right? That's why if you come out to my ranch, pretty much everything I own is green, because if something breaks, I got a guy. Yep. I know who to call, who can tell me, oh, yeah, this is the problem there.
Come on, John Deere's never break.
Oh, geez. Man. But, that's how we got to Texas, and I grew up in Texas. And if I could take the one value I learned in Texas that people are surprising here, it's the way you talk to people. Mm-hmm. You look them in the eyes when they're talking to you. You always try to shake their hand. And for the love of God, you open the door for a woman when she's coming through. I mean,
and they'll stop here occasionally and look at you like, what are you doing?
Almost like you offended them sometimes. I mean, not everybody's that way, but Nikki told me, I said, what was the main thing that got you when you knew this is the one for me? She said, you opened my door for me. And I'm like, really? Something that simple? It wasn't my incredible, shockingly good looks and, my incredible physique. None of that.
The silver-tongued devil.
Opened the door. But whatever, open the door. It'll go a long way.
Yep.
But, you learn a lot about respect for people and respect for your elders. And when I came back to Colorado from Texas, I was around 04-ish. And how I got into this business is it's kind of a rough story. I never intended to get into finance. Mm-hmm. For me, the financial industry was always a messy place. It's dirty.
Yep.
All you hear on TV is people losing money or somebody stealing money or whatever. And markets are confusing. And You know, that's just not for me. I'm going to grind it out and work the old fashioned way, just hard work. And I got into insurance, and I enjoyed that because I was helping aging Americans with their health insurance and with health care. And it was an industry that was already starting to get a lot of friction between the insurance companies, the government, and the end consumer. Like, it was already confrontational. It was like those three could never get along. What the consumers needed, the insurance companies couldn't provide, and it was messy. But I would have these conversations with these families, like, tell me about yourselves. What is it? What's your main issue in the world? You know, what's bothering you? I talked about health insurance, but I wanted to know about them as people. Yeah. So I had a better understanding. And they would complain about their investments. And I would say, well, I'm not licensed to talk about that, but what is your main concern? I mean, I'm not making money off your investment. So if you've got something that's garbage, I can at least tell you what I don't like about it, even though I'm not an expert in investing. And they would say, well, can you take a look at my statements? I'm like, sure, I'll give it a shot. I would take the statements and I would start going through it. And there was a lot of stuff I didn't understand. So I just went and started researching everything. You know me, I like to nerd out. When I don't understand something, but I know it's important, I will nerd out until I understand it before I talk to somebody about it. And what I found was like, oh my gosh, why do these people own these terrible things? Like, how is it even legal to sell this stuff? Where you make an investment into an account as an older American in retirement, and they're selling you a commission-based fund where they're clipping you for 5 3/4% of your money as soon as you buy this thing? Yeah. Why is this not elder abuse?
Yeah, you got to have the first year, you've got to make 10% just to keep up with inflation and fees.
It's crazy. It's criminal, the amount of money that some of these financial firms are ripping out of people's money. They're just, it's not a little bit, it's a massive amount. And so I would tell them, this is what I don't like. And they would leave, and then they would tell their friends, and their friends would show up to talk about health insurance. And then here's what I realized right away. These people were showing up saying I was referred by so-and-so to talk about insurance, and they would never ask me an insurance question. They would pull these investment statements out and say, well, I want to talk about this today too. Can you tell me what you think about this? And I'm like, okay. And I'd look at it, and then it hit me one day on like person number 7. I'm like, you know what? This industry is disgusting. Yep. It is disgusting. Yep. And it is infected with these people who are just driven off of commissions, ripping it out of people's money. And when I started learning about diversification and how critical that was, to me, it was like, if somebody doesn't do something to fix what's going on in the community with the money, people are really going to get hurt. And there's nobody out there. Like the entire industry seems to be wired this way. So I started going to work, and I put the work in to learn every possible thing I could about money, about investing, about how do you do it the right way. If I was sitting on the same side of the table as the consumer, and we're saying, look, knowing what I know about money and investing, here's how this needs to be designed, where somebody is not just completely taking you through across the coals. How do you do that? So I'm talking to these advisory firms all over the country. I mean, man, I went from California, I was in Pittsburgh, I was all over the place interviewing these people, trying to say, how do we do this correctly? And you wouldn't believe it, man. It was garbage. It was garbage everywhere I went. I even said, okay, the license I'm going to get, I'm going to go, which one should I get? And they said, this is the one you need. I sat through the class. I flew all the way to Philadelphia to go through the class because I found the guy that wrote the freaking book that teaches advisors. He teaches one class a year. Yep. And I'm thinking, if this guy wrote the book, I want to go learn from him. Flew to Philadelphia, went through the class. And by the end of that class, I was ready to throw up. Yep. It is so disgusting. Yep. I found out the guy that wrote the book to teach the class used to be the options trader for Ivan Boesky, who went to prison.
Yeah.
for insider trading, and I mean suitcases full of cash, and they caught him. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
At least you went to see the guy that really knew how to rip people off.
It was so disgusting.
Yep.
So I mean, I was so discouraged when I left. I never took that test. Obviously, that was the broker exam, the Series 7, which is just disgusting to me. And I went back home, and I had a pretty decent insurance business built at that point in time, and I was so frustrated. I was just ready to hang it up.
Yeah.
And someone told me, you need to take a look at this. And it was the fiduciary license, to where you can help people, but you don't necessarily need to worry about anything else. All you have to do is focus on the people and not the profits.
Yep.
And if you focus on the people, you'll be fine. It'll take a long time to build it up. But luckily for me, I had a successful insurance business already.
Yeah.
So adding this and just navigating into that slowly and just trying to help people was a smart decision for me.
Not the best timing market-wise.
It was the worst. And here's what else. I said, I'm not. They were like, well, you get this license, but then you need to go to work with a big brokerage firm. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? I just got done interviewing all these people, and all of them have dysfunctional habits.
Yep.
For clients. I'm not doing that. I'm going to start from scratch. And they're like, that's not how it works. You can't do that. You'll never survive. You will never be successful if you start off on your own as a fiduciary, getting a little bit of fee off of people's money. It will not survive. And I'm like, well, I guess we're going to give this a shot. We're going to see how fast I can crash and burn then. And you're right. I started, Mathies Financial Partners was started in April of 2008. The market started crashing and was on fire at the end of 2007 and basically burned to the ground until into 2009.
Yep.
And here I am. Here I am. Come see me. I make smart financial choices. Check this out. I started this business in the middle of a fire. And man, it was probably, for me, the greatest experience in building businesses, because when you start off at the worst possible time and you survive that, it's hard to break it.
That's when I came to work with you. I remember 2008, and I remember the tech crash in 2000. I remember reading about suicides and murders and people burning their house down because that was the only way they could get money from insurance. And that I needed to be somewhere where somebody understood how serious it was. And I had seen it with my own eyes. So yeah, didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's exactly when my head started turning towards.
It's tough, man. And it's tough. And I'm glad I'm in the seat I am in today. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to help a lot of people when I did. And here's what's amazing. We have a big business now. I mean, we're in multiple states. We got offices all over the place. And for me, it's very humbling to know that our corporate office for all of this that we do is right here in Pueblo. And you know where my very first client was from? Canyon City.
Yep.
Canyon City.
Yeah.
And that's where I said, what is happening in the investing world in Canyon City?
Small town USA.
It was amazing. I couldn't believe how much dysfunction was rolling through that city when it came to retirement.
Yeah.
And it's a big city. It's a big area for government employees. Mm-hmm. And so people tended to focus on the questions wrapped around, the government stuff there.
Sure.
How does this work? How does that work? If I pass away, does my wife get to keep some? Like, how do I make the best decisions? And they took their eye off all of the stuff they were saving outside of that,
right?
The personal investments. And I feel like the advisors at that time were just relentless. Yep. I mean, it was insane loaded mutual funds. It was variable annuities that had so much expense built into them. I ran into people who were paying almost 5% per year there.
Plus a cap on the gains so they could never even break even. I mean, we ran into that one that she'd had it for 15 years and had one profitable quarter in the entire time she'd had it. I mean, that's the kind of crud that's out there.
Yeah, I can't remember if that was an FIA or the VA, but no, I'm with you. Mm-hmm. It's messy. Any way you spin it, it's messy. And so anyways, I'm glad that things turned out the way they did for me. I learned a tremendous amount growing up in Texas, and I'm glad I was able to bring those values here back to Colorado when I moved here. And, you know,
personally, I thank God every day that you rolled up needing railroad ties at Big R when I happened to be on a forklift, just having fun teaching kids how to work.
I needed those railroad ties.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you got them on the trailer over the fender without them falling all over the place.
Well,
still stacked up neatly. I couldn't believe it.
I'd only done it 4,000 times. I made some dents learning.
It was quite impressive. I bet you did. It was quite impressive that day for me, though. Yeah, so that's good. I'm glad we got to talk through this. I hope that was helpful for everybody that's listening. You know, the origin of how people tend to get into the situations they're in or the businesses they're in. A lot of times, the answers to that, it's built off money. We got into the business to make a bunch of money. And for us, that is definitely not the case.
No, for us, it's clearly a calling. Yeah, there's no doubt.
When you start off as a fiduciary, a true fiduciary advisor, and I'm not talking about these guys who claim to be fiduciaries and they sell you a bunch of loaded stuff with high commission products. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about true fiduciaries. It's a tough business to get kicked off the ground.
Do you remember my first fee check, my first quarterly fee check?
No.
It was $5. And you said, I'm not even going to write a check, and you had to be a $5 bill. And I still carry that $5 bill. It's still in my pack. I have it, and it always reminds me of that 90 days worth of work for $5. And if it's about the money, then the fiduciary line is not going to be your world.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's hard. It's tough. I remember putting so much energy, like just grinding it out to help people. Mm-hmm. And we would, you would really put the energy and the action in, and you'd help people, and you're building plans, and it's expensive too. You got to pay for software. You got to pay for staff. And if it wasn't for the insurance side, helping people there, I'd be in deep trouble. I never would have made it. Mm-hmm. I remember getting it was like we were like a year in, still trying to figure it out. Some things we were getting really good at the design work, but I think our first fee check was like $2,000, and we were like, you know how many hours we worked for this? Like, what is going on? Like, this is tough.
Yep.
But honestly, man, we have a great business. We have a ton of people who are. I think I'd say a bulk of our business is just our clients out there talking about us.
100%.
Like, we're not. The client introductions are so powerful. Yep. And maybe it's a good time to tell everybody. If you are listening to the show today or you're watching the podcast, we would love to have a conversation with you. If you have any questions about retirement planning or investing, if there's any confusion there for you, if you got some stuff that you're dealing with. So maybe it's some questions you're afraid to ask. My suggestion is you go to the Cowboys and Cufflinks website. It's cowboysandcufflinks.com, and poke around a little bit. There's a lot of good stuff on there. The first thing I would do is request something that's on there. It's called the Retirement Readiness Kit. Mm-hmm. Inside that kit, there's a ton of great information for you. We will mail it out to you. It's something that's a tangible asset. You can hold it. You can flip through it. You can write all over it. And there's a questionnaire in there. And that questionnaire will essentially, it's a self-test. You have the ability to go through it, and it will tell you how prepared are you really when it comes to retirement and your future. And if you take that test and you told the truth on it and you find that you're in good shape, good for you. If you find you're not in that great of shape and you want to talk about it, there's also a link on that website. You can click it, and it will allow you to set up a 15-minute phone call with us. And we have zero expectation of anything on that phone call other than answering your questions. It will be either with myself or one of our fiduciary advisors, especially if there's one closer to you than me, and we'll make sure we get you in touch with them. But ask your questions. It costs you nothing, and it gives you the opportunity to ask a professional whatever it may be. Maybe you are in a scenario where you're trying to figure out your government pension, whether it's federal or state government pension. And you don't understand what does it mean when they're talking about buying up years? Or what does it mean when they're talking about I have to pick correctly or my spouse gets left with zero if I die? There's a lot of moving parts. People think that pension plans are simple, and they can be, but sometimes the simplest choice is when you're rolling through the benefit selection stuff, when you're talking about triggering that thing, the simplest selections can sometimes hurt others, and that wasn't your intention. So you've got to ask about the insurance and, what happens if something happens to you? How much does your spouse get to keep? If you've got those questions, we've got a person on staff that would love to have a conversation with you about that, because I feel he's our expert when it comes to government pensions.
Well, when you're a para-retiree, you learn to be an expert because there's a lot of ways to mess it up.
And I've seen those. Ladies and gentlemen, again, this has been the Cowboys and Cufflinks show. We'll see you down the road. Thanks for joining me today on Cowboys and Cufflinks. I'm Jeff Mathies, CEO of Mathies Financial Partners, Texas-raised, hospitality first, and focused on helping individuals and families find the perfect financial fit and move toward their American dream with clarity and purpose. If today brought you clarity or raised a question you've been wanting to answer, subscribe so you don't miss what's next. To learn more or take the next step, visit cowboysandcufflinks.com. This has been Cowboys and Cufflinks with Jeff Mathies. We'll see you down the road.